just busted right inside him, and he can't extend on me anymore, and he seems a little overwhelmed by my girth and tonnage.
Rewatching NFL horrible takes is really one of my favorite pastimes. So much so that I had to make a part 2 to my first video. I love watching these clips back because a lot of analysts nowadays are very arrogant and have somewhat of a know-it-all personality, so to see them get something so obviously and completely wrong, it feels great. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys some of the worst NFL takes I could possibly find and going through why they're so bad and how the situation they were so confidently discussing turned out to be wrong. Thank you for clicking on this video, and I hope you enjoy.
We'll say this about Josh Rosen. I think the Miami Dolphins might have stumbled into their version of Brett Favre. That years ago when the Green Bay Packers were getting off the ground as Ron Wolf, as Mike Holmgren, Ron Wolf made a trade with the Atlanta Falcons to get Brett Favre,
who was lost in Atlanta.
For whatever reason, it wasn't working. 1 year in, he picks a guy based on his talent. The Miami Dolphins got a value pick. Guy that was 10th overall, they got him for nothing. A second round pick, you're talking about chances of making it in the league, maybe 40%
and they don't
in terms of doing it.
Anything.
Aren't paying him anything. Look, I would say the guy has talent. I thought last year he was the top quarterback. He played the game in Miami, which is going to be a smart offensive system. I can see Josh Rosen playing well. And if Josh Rosen, it frees them up to do so many other things when it comes to building up their roster. For the Miami Dolphins, it was a no-lose proposition. It was a win-win. Because if he hits, then you go and draft other people with those picks, commit other resources while you have him on a bargain basement deal.
This clip comes right after Josh Rosen was traded from the Arizona Cardinals to the Dolphins in exchange for a second-round pick after an awful rookie season in Arizona. Actually, it was one of the worst rookie seasons we've ever seen, in fact. Rosen threw for a total of 11 touchdowns to 14 interceptions in a pathetic display for his first year in the NFL. He went 3-10 and only completed a little over half his passes. So of course, after seeing this in classic Dolphin fashion, they thought it would be worth giving up a second-round pick for, and apparently so did Bucky Brooks here. Rosen already showed to be abysmal, so to be this wrong about him even after watching him crush the hearts of Cardinal fans all over for an entire season, he still thought he could have a Brett Favre-like resurgence. The only difference is Rosen had no physical tools to make that kind of comparison. Favre always had a cannon of an arm, and we always saw him demonstrate that, and he even flashed a small amount of that in Atlanta. Rosen did absolutely nothing to earn a starting job after year one, and proved to be awful right after. Rosen was even worse with the Dolphins and threw 5 interceptions to only 1 touchdown before he was inevitably benched. This take aged horribly.
Who is your number one? Who does Houston take?
I'm going to go with Johnny Manziel, and I'm going to say Johnny Manziel for this reason. When you talk to people in the league, I get a consensus on Manziel that I don't get with Bortles or Bridgewater. A consensus that Manziel at worst is going 5. He's going in the top 5 somewhere. And Johnny Manziel is a magician on the field. If he eats, sleeps, and drinks football 365 days a year, to me, he can be a very good to great player in the NFL. And today's NFL kind of suits his skill set very effectively and very well.
This one is just bad for so many reasons. Mel Kiper isn't just wrong about the kind of player Manziel would become, but he was also dead wrong about his draft position, how NFL teams were viewing him, and Manziel's personality, all of which are directly Mel Kiper's job to be right about. We all know how Manziel's story ended up panning out. He was terrible in the league, he never applied himself, never learned a playbook, and partied his way out of the NFL. Now, I'm not expecting Kiper to be able to magically predict that exact outcome, but the signs were all there, and that's even the direct reason he fell in the draft. Everybody knew Manziel could be a head case. Everybody knew Manziel skipped mandatory meetings in college, and everybody knew his game from college could have trouble adjusting to the speed of the NFL. Everybody but Kiper, the one who is paid to know that. I've never seen somebody so passionately wrong about a player. You could look up Mel Kiper and Johnny Manziel, and all you would find are videos of Kiper gassing Manziel up and never mentioning any of his flaws. I don't know why he was so enamored with Johnny football, but clearly he was dead wrong. Not really a take, but as a quick honorable mention, here's a video of Skip Bayless arguing with himself about Aaron Rodgers. All of these things were said by him on both sides of the argument.
Rodgers is historically, transcendentally, specially great. No, you know why? Because Aaron Rodgers is hot and Aaron Rodgers is cold.
Are you kidding me?
He is not
consistently, historically great, transcendentally great. He's above anybody who's playing this game on a human level right now. He's also the most overhyped quarterback in the history of pro football. That is the most laughable statement you have ever made in the history of this show. Okay? So it's Aaron bleeping Rodgers. He's errant Rodgers, E-R-R-A-N-T Rodgers. Here's what you won't have.
I would trade T.J. Watt, George Pickens, 2 first-rounders, and go get Shedeur Sanders if you think he's a starting quarterback. Nobody that I talked to in the league thought Kenny Pickett was a starter. Backup. Homegrown kid. But proactive is the way to do it. I mean, remember, Kansas City moved up, gave away picks. They had a Pro Bowl quarterback in Alex Smith. And, Joe Flacco had made a lot of money and won a lot of games in Baltimore. And they went and got Lamar Jackson. So I think you got to take a big swing on this thing. If you want to go find the next Big Ben, and Big Ben was a very good prospect out of Miami of Ohio. People knew Big Ben could play. Big, strong, mobile, and he delivered. Got him to Super Bowls. But you say whatever you want about Aaron. To me,
I couldn't have made a worse takes video without having a Colin Cowherd clip in here. Thank God this man is not the GM of the Pittsburgh Steelers. If Colin Cowherd had control over any team in the NFL, you might as well switch favorite teams on the spot. That trade proposal is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. If it were up to Colin Cowherd, he would have traded a top 3 defensive player in football, your at the time star wide receiver, and 2 first-round selections for a quarterback who would end up going in the 5th round and have to fight with 3 other quarterbacks for a starting job on the worst team in football currently. It's unfathomable how he even has a job after suggesting something like that. The worst part is this may not even be his worst take. I'm not trying to just hurl insults at these guys, but I think people need to stop having so much faith in the expert's opinion because sometimes they make worse takes than a casual fan would. That's all I got for this one, though. I hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks for watching.